Today we're going to continue looking at our launcher skill. Specifically, we're going to look at moving from using the adapt intent engine to using Padatious. Let's get started. Before we start modifying our skill to use Padatious, let's look at how our two different intent parsers differ. So right now for adapt, we register this intent with the required launch keyword, required program, and optionally neon. So that's a pretty simple formula, but it's pretty strict about we need one of these keywords, and we need something in this position of a very specifically structured sentence. So I'm going to take a look at our I like brands skill, because this one uses Padatious, and we'll look at how the initialize function is very different. So instead of having a brand's intent, we're registering these entity files, and those are things like type of brand, like keyword, and brand name. And then we register an intent file. So to show an example, our brand name entity file is just a list of brand names. So any of these lines will match a brand name. And then if we look at one of our intent files, it just has the structure I, one of our like entities, and one of our brand name entities. So that's pretty flexible. And that's the other benefit of using Padatious is it works on a confidence level, so it's not looking for explicitly a match of I like brand. It's looking for something that is similar enough to that it's confident it's a match. And that confidence level can be adjusted, but conceptually it's just more flexible than a sentence with a specific syntax we need to match. So our initialize function, we're not going to register an adapt intent using the intent builder. We're actually not going to use that at all. So I'll remove that import. And I'm going to comment all of this out. And instead what we're going to do is register an entity file and an intent file. So we're going to make a program.entity, and like the brands.entity we looked at, this one's just going to have a list of the programs that we want to be able to launch. And then same with the intent file. And that's going to call our launch program intent the same way we did before. So if we go over here to our vocab, we're actually not going to need either of the launch keywords or the neon one anymore. Just delete those. I'll make a new one, launch.intent. And then a new program.entity. So program, we're going to have everything that we had in the other VOC files, all of our keywords for Chromium, Nautilus, Terminal, and text editor. And these are the same options that are in these lists in our init. I'm going to leave these here just so we can continue to use multiple words for each program. You could simplify this and just get rid of these and just say if Chrome, if Nautilus, if terminal, if text editor, etc. But we're going to leave that as it is, and then we're going to go to our intent file, and using the same options we used before, I'm going to say launch or lunch or open, and then one of the items out of our program entity file. So that's that. We're not going to be able to use the same check for signal or look for neon. I'm just going to remove that. Because we're looking for a specific item out of our list, we shouldn't get as many of those false positives anyways. And then that also means we should never get this not found. I'm just going to remove that. Which means I can actually remove all of this if match logic. Because with the way the intent file is, it's not going to match if it didn't find a match in the first place, so we'll never get to here. And clean up our indentations. So before I continue on to testing this skill, I do want to point out the differences here between our regex file we were using previously and the intent file we're using now. So these look very similar. The main difference here is with our intent program is an entity, not just some variable. So we're specifically looking for these words that are in our entity file in order for that to match. So with that said, let's do some quick testing. And I have in this terminal here, you can see I'm just following our logs and looking for launcher. It's the name of our skill. So anything that matches any of our log statements in the skill will get picked up here. And also anytime I say that word, it'll notice. So I'm just going to type in something here. So far this is working exactly as it did before, but let me try something different. So I just asked it to launch LibreOffice, and we never told it what that was. If you remember before when we had this, it still matched the skill, and it said it didn't know what LibreOffice is. But if you look at our logs, it never called the skill, and that's because LibreOffice isn't in the program entity file. So this kind of helps. You're not going to get calls to skills that don't belong as much this way, because it is looking for, before it even gets to the skill intent, it's looking for all of the keywords it needs to execute. I just have a couple of extra comments to make here about using Padatious. Generally, adapt intents are going to be tried before Padatious. And if we look here in our intent service file, this is in Mycroft/skills, and then inside of handle utterance, this is where it handles the intent. And we'll see I actually have a comment here that says exactly what I'm trying to say. It's going to send the message to adapt unless Padatious is really sure that it should be handling it. And this confidence level is set at 0.8. If you have issues with skills that aren't matching to Padatious, you can try decreasing this, or if skills are matching that shouldn't, you can increase it, but it's recommended to leave this the same and modify your intent files if it becomes an issue. Thanks for watching this Neon AI tutorial. Be sure to head over to neongecko.com for more information, including a written transcript of this tutorial and any code snippets we may have used. See you next time.